Happy midnight, everybody. The moon is shining, so I hope all of you are smiling. Welcome back to another Skyfall episode. Today is episode 13, and you guys might remember in last episode, we built this ginormous Moonshine Colossus statue. I'm very, very proud of it. But because this took so much resources and time, I kind of want today's episode to be a little more chill. And so we're going to be focusing on some smaller projects in our base area. We're going to be tidying up the area, adding tons more custom trees. We're also going to be doing a honey farm, which I'm really looking forward to. So after focusing on a big scale project last episode, today we're going to be taking a look at all the small scale things to do in our base to make it look like a lived in, vibrant area. Now today is April 1st, which if you guys remember from the end of last episode, means that it is the start of Umi's brand new hide and seek game. So why don't we quickly go over to the shopping district and pick up our assigned Skyfall member in whose base we're going to be hiding our heads. Here we are back at the Minigame headquarters. Let's pop on in. Oh, I can already see the game has started. This place has already changed so much. Wow, this looks foreboding. Who's that handsome fella? All right, I have procured my assignment. It's here in my hotbar, but I'm not going to show you guys just yet. Don't worry. We're going to head on over to their base in this episode. But for now, I want to head back to our own base and get started on our honey farm. Now for this honey farm, I want to put it in this general plot of land right here, right in front of the villa that has the pool in the courtyard. Obviously, I wanted to keep my design on theme with our Greco-Roman inspired area, and so I began researching on the internet what ancient Greek or Roman apiaries or bee farms would have looked like, and eventually I stumbled across this relatively famous apiary that is in Milan. So this is what we're going to be modeling our bee farm after right here on Skyfall. Some of the most prominent features that I want to take away from this design are first and foremost the alcoves where the bees would go. I think we can incorporate this nicely in Minecraft. Second, I really like the terraced look and how the whole farm seems to be inlaid into the hillside. And because this is going to be terraced, it actually works perfectly for having both the honeycomb and honey bottle farm, since we can have one on one level and the second one on a second level. So I really like that feature as well. And lastly, obviously this bee farm in Milan has very earthy materials, kind of mud, cobblestone, things like that, which are obviously easily translatable into Minecraft building blocks. So those are the three main takeaways I'm going to be going for with this design. We're obviously going to have to clear out these trees first, but after that we can go ahead and get started on our very own apiary. So let's hit a time lapse. Check out our brand new honey farms with these luscious, vibrant flower gardens right outside them. I really like the way that these turned out. I'll once again go ahead and throw up the inspiration pic. Again, this is a real-life Roman apiary in Milan. You can see I've used stairs here to mimic those real-life alcoves where the bees would have lived. We've got the same sort of muddy-looking brick. Just like the real-life one in Milan, my apiary is also kind of built into a hillside and kind of terraced upwards. We have this kind of crumbly, worn down, mossy retention wall that just looks like it's been through so many years of keeping that dirt on the other side back. Now let's go ahead and head on into the hillside to check out the actual honey farm. This is the setup we've got right here. These barrels are for glass bottles that will feed into these droppers back here. Now, in terms of redstone, what we have going on behind the scenes is pretty simple. We have a beehive, obviously, and then we're taking a comparator output through a block from that beehive. So the more that the beehive fills up with honey, the stronger the redstone signal gets output by the comparator. And eventually, when that signal gets strong enough, it'll reach all the way to this block right here. And when this block becomes powered, it will trigger the dispenser, which will harvest the honey. And then we've got a simple hopper chain that feeds all of the honey into these bottom chests over here. It's a pretty simple and pretty efficient farm, and just since I've been building the second layer, this is how much honey has been produced on both sides. Now back outside, we can take this pathway on the right hand side, which connects us all the way up to a second terrace. We've got another custom tree, another decorative beehive on the outside, and an identical farm in here. This one uses shears instead of glass bottles, so it is equipped to harvest the honeycomb, but otherwise it works the exact same. So these are my brand new honeycomb and honey bottle farms. I hope you guys like them. I think they look really vibrant and very integrated into the landscape. And I was also really happy that I was able to find a real life example of an ancient Roman apiary. I thought that was really cool. With the honey farm done, why don't we go ahead and take a quick break from making base additions and we can turn our attention to the hide and seek minigame. It's time to reveal who I got assigned for the hide and seek minigame. Are you guys ready? We got, drum roll, Sneezy! That's right, we get to go hide heads in the base of the server owner himself. And here we are at Sneezy's place, which is looking magnificent already, although I know it's a work in progress. Let's see if we can find some nooks and crannies to hide our head in here. This little contraption right here looks to be some kind of automated netherwort farm, and I'm guessing this is probably fair game. Why don't we go ahead and throw a player head in here? Now, Umi did say in the rules that we're not allowed to show all of them on camera, but I thought we could hide, I don't know, 9 or 10 on camera. That way you guys can join in on the fun and excitement as well. And I think we're going to put one right in this area right back here. We can put one right back here. It probably can't hurt to have a few that are easier to find, so we'll go ahead and throw one right there. Oh, look at this perfect little nook I found right here. We definitely have to put one there. I know he'll find this one when he's building, but why don't we go ahead and place one up here in his tower? And Umi said we were allowed to break blocks, so why don't we actually put one inside this random birch tree right here? And I'll show one more on camera. We can go ahead, if I can get under there. There we go. I'll go ahead and put one underneath his beacon right here. Now, as per Yumi's rules, I'm going to go ahead and hide the rest of these heads off camera, and I'll see you guys when I'm done with that. Alright, all the heads have been cleverly hidden throughout Sneezy's base. I'm super excited to see him look for them. I wonder how many he's going to find. But anyways, why don't we head on back to our own base and get started on more base additions. The next addition to our base that I want to make is to add in another segment of our aqueduct in this area right here, more inland. This will help connect the aqueduct and provide continuity all throughout our area. And it'll also make this space less empty in between this villa and our bee farm and the other villa. But like most additions, this is going to have to start with a clearing of many, many trees. So why don't we go ahead and get rid of some of the forest. Alright, all the trees have been removed and I even touched up the landscape, so this area is looking like a perfect blank canvas for us to put our build onto. Now, don't worry, because at the end of today's episode, we are going to be building even more custom trees and pathways that'll make this still feel very natural and very vibrant, but for now, it's going to be a little bit bare while we do our builds. But anyway, I think we are ready to get started on our next segment of the aqueduct, so why don't we go ahead and hit a time lapse. And just like that, we now have a continuation of our ruined aqueduct that runs through the middle of the Greek and Roman town to kind of connect the two ideas together. Except this bit right here is currently floating. This bit right here is no longer floating. Now, since I still have the original aqueduct here, it was pretty easy to generate two brand new segments using this as the foundation. That being said, I still think that it does wonders to kind of connect these two areas and also fill in the space and make our area more immersive. Now we have a bit of the aqueduct that I love so much in the part of the base that we're actually living in, where we are going to be walking through and going under these arches. And so I just really like having this kind of ruined aqueduct here for us to experience in a more immediate area, I guess, if that makes sense. Next up, I want to go ahead and fill in some of the space right here by adding various types of farmland separated by walls, and this will also extend behind the buildings, kind of establishing an outer boundary to our area. So we're going to have some walls that run roughly along this way, and there will be crops on that side as well as a little bit on this side towards the villa. Now, of course, this involves the removal of even more trees, so let's go ahead and just fully deforest this area once and for all. Seeing my area without any trees in it is really strange. It looks way more kind of barren and honestly a little bit lame, but don't worry, we're going to be adding in trees later today, as I said earlier. But for now, we've cleared out an area that goes all the way behind the temple over in that direction. Um, what is that? He stays. Anyways, up next, we're going to be putting in the stone wall that will kind of separate the area from the two new farmlands that we're going to be adding. We're going to start off with a basic stone line that just kind of marks out where the wall is going to go, and we're slowly going to build it up in height and detail as we go along. So let's get started adding in this wall. And now we have the general shape of our wall that you guys can see right here. And during the footage, you guys may have noticed that I was just kind of placing this randomly. I have a rough idea of what sections I want to be blocked off, but other than that, I was kind of just placing blocks, and this gives the wall a really natural kind of curved feel where it just kind of meanders through the landscape, and that's exactly what we're going for. Now, in order to make this wall much more interesting than just cobblestone, we're going to be using other blocks as well that we need to texture and mix into the cobblestone. Now, the overall style that I'm going to be going for is going to be pretty much exactly what we have over here at the Melon and Pumpkin Patch, where we have this craggly, stony, almost natural looking wall that just is not as uniform as you might expect. I found that this style of wall just works really, really well with kind of farm areas or crop areas. So that's what we're going to be going for with the rest of our wall as well. The next step in achieving that goal is to mix in other various stone types to give this a much more varied feel. And that way, at a quick glance, it doesn't look like it's just one monotone, solid wall of cobblestone. So yeah, we're just going to break it down a little bit here. I like to use andesite as a transition block between cobblestone and stone because it has the kind of color of the stone, but it also looks more broken up like the cobblestone is. So wherever I have patches of stone, I'm going to slowly transition it back to cobblestone using the andesite, and we'll also use polished andesite in some places. That being said, we definitely want to leave a good amount of the cobblestone in there because it does provide an excellent darker rock, and it just gives a really nice weathered feel to the overall build. So we are going to leave a good bit of the cobblestone in place. And lastly, we can throw in some polished andesite every so often because it is a very high contrast block with this dark border on the bottom right hand corner. So I like to put andesite in the parts of the wall that look the most intact. So in other words, next to the stone where it looks less weathered, because the andesite itself is a really strong reinforced looking block. So we want it to be next to parts of the wall that look the most healthy. So that's going to be my strategy. Why don't we go ahead and texture this wall up? Alright, and now that the base of our wall has variance in textures, we now need to add variance in height. Or in other words, we need to make the wall taller in some places than in others. To do this, I'm just going to go ahead and throw up some additional blocks on top of the ones we already have placed down, keeping in mind what blocks are going on top of. So this area right here has a lot of stone and andesite, so if I make it taller, I'm going to use those same blocks in this area. Alright, let's go ahead and raise this wall up a couple blocks. Our wall is looking better by the minute. The last bit of detail that I like to add to walls of this style are going to be slabs, stairs, and walls. And I like to do them in batches just because it's easier on the hotbar, so we'll go through and do all of the slabs at once, and then all the stairs, and then all the walls. These kinds of details are really excellent for varying height, so we can make the wall a little bit shorter here, but I also like to place slabs at the base of the wall to kind of flesh it out and make it thicker. So you can see we're going to go ahead and throw a slab on there to kind of connect those two, but then we can also place one on the ground. I think I'm going to go with andesite here, and that'll just overall flesh the wall out as we go along. Slabs in particular are good for small variations in height, so we can add a little hump here in the wall, or if we want to make this pillar a little bit taller than the one next to it, we can throw a slab on top right there. We can also use slabs to make especially low parts of the wall, so I could take out an entire section here and just have, we'll do an andesite block, I think. Now this wall just kind of curves all the way down and there's a little open bit in it. And that's a great feature when you're attempting to do some kind of ruined wall like I am here. I'm not very used to talking and building at the same time, so I hope I'm not talking complete nonsense to you guys. I'm sorry if I get a little off track here and there, but hopefully this helps describe kind of my thought process when I'm going through a build like this. I'll finish off the slabs and stairs, and then maybe we can talk a little bit more about the walls when we get to them. Alright, and our stone wall is now ready for its last addition, which is going to be actual walls, the item. And I tend to use these as spires in points of extreme height. So I see a spot right over here where I think one would look nice. We can go ahead and throw up a real wall, and that'll just give it like a little bit of a spike and a little bit of extra texture. One thing I do hope you guys notice as I build this wall is that I'm kind of placing blocks somewhat randomly. And that's the beauty of a wall of this design, is that you don't really have to think too much about where you're placing things. You just kind of place them down and let the block palette do a lot of the work, and the stairs and other things do a lot of the texturing for you. And with those final touches, I'm going to call this wall a finished product. It serves as a nice visual separator between the three areas we're hoping to define. Back here, we're going to have a wheat and possibly beetroot field. It's going to be absolutely massive. And on this side over here by the smaller villa, we're going to have a vineyard. It's not going to be grapevines, it's going to be sweet berries because, well, that's what we have in Minecraft. But I was thinking that maybe the old owner of this ancient villa was once a vineyard owner. He maybe grew grapes, made wine, and maybe we can make some additional builds to reflect that. And the third area is the area over by the amphitheater. So now, because of this wall, all of these areas are going to be filled in and properly defined. So let's get to work on that vineyard, shall we? Now, I don't know how grounded in truth this is, but when I picture grapes growing, I picture them growing around some kind of wooden structure. I think it's called a trellis. I don't know if grapes actually use one of these, but that's what we're going to make anyway because, well, this is Minecraft and I don't know much about grapes, unfortunately. I think I want 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How's that? That's a pretty good length, I think. I brought some fence gates over because these look really, really nice when connecting fences. And then I had the idea to put campfires on top. I don't know how well this is going to work out. Okay, good. I want these top beams to be running this way, so that's perfect. Fire damage time. Whew. And we can extinguish them with our shovel. Now we can take our quote-unquote grapes and go ahead and place them down. I want to do something like that, I think. And then to give this an overgrown feel, we're going to go ahead and place some leaves around. I'm using darker leaves towards the bottom and lighter leaves towards the top. Nice. Okay, so that is what each of our little grape farm units are going to look like. All right, so using this pattern, I'm going to go ahead and fill up this guy's vineyard. Did you guys just look at this cute little vineyard we have? Oh, I love it so much. Walking through is just really immersive, and it reminds me of when I was a younger kid. My grandparents used to take me berry picking, and it had trellises just like this with berries, and they were offset. So this reminds me very much of that. I really like the vibe in here. Now, obviously, I've added in these kind of gentle pathways, and I also threw in some red flowers and these red nether sprouts just so that we can bring out the color in the berries even more. This part's one of my favorites where the trellises just kind of cascade down the hillside. So that's what the vineyard is going to look like. Now let's go ahead and move on to the massive wheat field in the middle section of the wall. Oh boy, we got a lot of tilling to do. But like with most projects, there's no use putting it off. Let's just go ahead and till this entire area. Well, the whole field has now been tilled. I'd love to tell you guys that this is a quick 20 or 30-minute breeze of a project, but in reality, this took about 2 to 3 hours, and I'm not entirely sure why. I was definitely not expecting it to take that long, but it was overall not that fun, I'll be honest with you guys. But it's done now, it's done. We can move on to planting. Now, I don't have nearly enough seeds to fill this entire field, so I sent a message in chat reaching out to the other members to see if they could help, and Soda was willing to sell us some of his seeds. Thank you once again to Soda. This has been incredibly helpful. We now have all of these seeds. This is still probably not going to be enough to fill up this entire field, but it's going to be a strong start. Now, we're running pretty low on video time, and I still want to build the custom trees as well as the pathways, so I'm just going to skip to once I've planted all of these seeds down and show you guys how far I got. Ready? Skidoosh. Okay, I'll be the first to admit that was a pretty lame jump cut considering that we barely got any of this field planted. But that was over 10 stacks of seeds, and this is all we have. This is a very large field, you guys. But anyways, that's where I'm going to leave this field project for today, just because I don't think I could realistically fill this whole thing in today's episode. But I'll probably work on it off camera, and hopefully by the start of next episode, this place will all be full of wheat. And now we get to move on to what I've been looking forward to most, which is the new pathways and custom trees. I've already got a pretty good idea of roughly where I want these pathways to go, and I'm going to be doing them in the same style as the other ones, where it's mostly path blocks with some coarse dirt sprinkled around the edges, and some spruce wood when it's going up or down a hill. So why don't you guys join me while I lay down some pathways around my area? Now that the pathways are in place, we can go ahead and top off this area with some beautiful looking custom trees. I have one brand new tree species that we're going to be integrating into our landscape in addition to the other ones that we already have. So without further ado, let's go ahead and build some custom trees. And just like that, we've put the final touches on our area. Some beautiful, gorgeous looking custom trees. I went ahead and added some rocks, some ground foliage, as well as some beautiful mountain flowers of all different kinds. And this area has just positively come alive. Our base now feels so complete, so warm, so immersive. I love it. And this is exactly what I aim for when creating these builds, is to make it come alive and feel lived in, and not just by me, but by plant life and animal life and all other kinds of life, including bee life. Hello, little friend. We've got custom trees in all the areas we added today, as well as adding some trees to some older areas. I added this really large stone pine that kind of covers over our amphitheater, which I think looks really good. We added a little bit of a rocky area right out here in front of the Super Smelter Temple, some Italian cypress trees leading into it, some flower patches, and I do love the look of the sun just shining out over our massive field. And this is eventually going to be full of wheat. I know it looks a little bare bones right now. I'm so sorry about that. Up on the hill out in the field, you guys can see I've added some of our new species of tree. I kind of just winged this one. It's a little bit inspired by the Colorado blue spruce, but not entirely. It's just kind of its own unique thing, and that's the new breed of tree that I've added throughout the area. I think this view looks really incredible. We get a ton of custom trees on the left, we get our wheat field down the center, and then our beautiful new vineyard on the right-hand side. Now, we have been all over the place in today's episode, just jumping from one project to the next, so I want to take a little bit of time to just take a relaxing stroll through all of our new builds. We'll do a bit of a cinematic walkthrough just to review all the things we've built and take some time to just cool off and chill in the shade of what we've created. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a beautiful walk through our brand new area. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to bring us to the end of today's episode. I know we did so many different things, but I really hope you guys enjoyed. I know I enjoyed having you all here, so thank you so much. And just a quick reminder, if you guys missed last episode, that the Moonshine merch store is now open and available, so feel free to head on over there and check that out after this video. If you guys did enjoy, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, but no worries if not. As always, I have more exciting things planned for future videos, and I look forward to seeing you all then. And until next time, shine on, little stars. Shine on.